Welcome back. I'm Calvin Statue Fanatic here with another review, and today we're going to take a look at Sideshow's premium format figure of Aspen from the Top Cow universe. When I first saw this figure, I knew that I had to get it. It was one that I did not expect that anyone would do, but because I was such a fan of the comics and I knew that there would probably never be another chance to buy a figure like this, so of course I jumped on it and got the figure. I also got a chance to see this figure at San Diego Comic-Con, and she looked absolutely gorgeous. And now that I have it in house, I am absolutely not disappointed at all. Now, when I got to see this at San Diego Comic-Con, one of the things that I heard people say all the time is like, wow, she looks beautiful, she's awesome. But in the same breath, I would hear them say, and I have no idea who she is. So I'm going to try to remedy that and go through a short history of who Aspen is and how she came to be. Aspen was created back in, I think it was 1998, by the late great Michael Turner. He also was one of the co-creators of the Witchblade character from Top Cow as well. Now, Aspen started her journey on a cruise ship out of San Diego. The interesting thing about this cruise ship is that the cruise ship went missing for 10 years. However, the passengers on the cruise ship, once they docked back in San Diego, did not realize that they had been gone for 10 years. They noticed that things had changed, but they didn't realize that they had been gone for 10 years. And of course, the government mobilizes and goes, what in the heck is going on with this cruise ship that has been missing for 10 years and all of a sudden appears out of nowhere? Once the cruise ship docks, Aspen, of course, is on the cruise ship, and she doesn't even know how she got on the cruise ship. She has no memory of her history or past or anything like that. So she ends up being adopted by the captain of the cruise ship, Matthews, and he raises her as his own. And what happens is that she goes on to become this Olympian type swimmer. She wins gold medals and all that kind of stuff. And then she goes on to graduate and become a marine biologist. She's always had this inexplicable attraction toward the ocean, which she can't explain. Now, after becoming a marine biologist, she gets her job on this deep sea type mission. It's sort of like a space station under the ocean. Now, when she gets to this mission under the ocean at this deep sea space station, if you will, she realizes that the only reason why this station exists is to research this alien ship that has sunk and is now at the bottom of the ocean. Through a series of events, this space station or this sea station is destroyed, and pretty much everyone on it is destroyed except Aspen. As a result of this ship being destroyed and Aspen being in the ocean, she realizes that she has abilities that human beings should not have in the ocean. She also learns that as a result of all of these events that unfold is that the earth is inhabited by other creatures as well, humanoids that live in the ocean, and this race of people is actually at war with each other. Now, Aspen learns that she is part of this race of people, but what she doesn't know is that how powerful she is. However, one of the people, or several of the people of this race actually knows who she is, and they realize how powerful she is, and one of the individuals, Killian, tries to recruit her, which he does, to become some super weapon for his side of the civil war between these two races. He brainwashes and manipulates her into thinking that she's doing the right thing and she's fighting for the side of good. But once she realizes that what she is doing is not good, she realizes what the true nature of her power is and what she's capable of doing, and she ends up defeating this individual. And she learns out what her true destiny is. Now, when it comes to who she is and how powerful she is, she's sort of like a female version of Aquaman. But the difference is that I think, in my opinion, that she is much more powerful than Aquaman, and that Aquaman is typically known for controlling the life in the sea, where Aspen is able to control all of the ocean. She's able to control the sea itself and all the power that water can actually wield. In fact, she's a lot like Green Lantern in that she can take the ocean and form constructs of solid things and weapons and anything that she can imagine, she can form it. But not only is she able to control the ocean, she's able to control anything that flows like liquid, whether it's liquid metal or it is the blood in our body, she's able to control that. In fact, there's a fight that happens in the comic book where she actually defeats this guy by instantly draining all the liquid in his body and instantly killing him, making her a lethal killing weapon. That, along with many, many other powers, including the ability to breathe underwater and all of that she has, just like Aquaman. And the story is pretty fascinating. It continues on till today. If you want to read the story, it is an ongoing series that started back, like I said, in 1998 and is still being published today. And I'm really happy that Sideshow decided to make this character. Now that you know a little bit about Aspen and her history, let's get started with the review of the statue itself. The statue stands about 22 inches tall, and she's about 19 inches wide and about 10 inches long. This is the exclusive version of the statue, and I'll talk about why it's an exclusive version in a little bit. And it's also limited, I think, to 1,000 pieces. Now, as far as the statue is concerned, I'm going to talk about a number of aspects of the statue. Of course, normally I talk about the sculpt, the paint application, and all that stuff separately, but I'm going to talk about it all together because I think in this statue it flows really well together. I really like the statue a lot, but however, there is one aspect of the statue that I will mention that I am not a fan of. Now that I put my glasses on so that I can see better as we talk about the statue, we'll start with the head sculpt of this statue, and I think it's absolutely gorgeous. Now, I have heard people mention things about the facial sculpt and things like that, and them feeling that there is something off about it, but maybe this might help you maybe interpret it a little bit differently, because in the comics, when she's using her power, she goes into this trance-like state, and in many of the instances where she's using her powers, you can see where she's like almost just peering off into nothingness, and that's kind of like what this portrait looks like. And as you can see, she is kind of using her powers there, and she's like in this trance-like state. So that's kind of how I interpret this, and I actually think it's a very beautiful portrait. It's actually painted very well. I like the fact that the makeup on the statue is not overdone. It looks really great. The eyeshadow, her eyes, all painted really well. And one other aspect of the statue that I like a lot when it comes to the head sculpt is the paint application around the line of her hair. Nothing is out of place. It looks absolutely fantastic, and it's painted really well. The line work is done really well. Also with the head sculpt, the hair sculpt that is, her hair looks fantastic. There's a lot of sculpting and detail in her hair, and it actually has multi-tones in terms of color. I like that as well. And it's not just one big sculpt of hair. There's different strands of it that's sculpted off differently. And I've seen how that looks, you know, without it painted, like maybe there's a little wire under there or something that's causing that. The head sculpt, I think, just looks fantastic on her. Moving on down her body and even at her neck. Now there she's wearing this necklace or this medallion of some type. It is sculpted around her neck, which is really awesome, but what's really cool about it, the paint application of it, it is painted extremely well, and there's no spillover, nothing. It's like a perfect paint job on this. It almost looks like a prototype to me as far as the way that it's painted. And even moving on down to her body with the sculpt of her body is absolutely beautiful, sculpted really well. She has very subtle muscle tones in her body, her abs sculpted really well. I love females with abs, and so her sculpt looks really well. And then when you look at all of the ornamentation that's around her body, which could be, I guess, armor or whatever you want to call it, it's all sculpted really well. And again, what's really cool about it is that the paint application on it looks absolutely phenomenal. I could not find one mistake on here. And as you can see, there's lots of straps and different line work that needed to be done on this statue. And so there's quite a few opportunities for it not to be done well, especially in statues. I mean, there's 1,000 of them out there, and so there's lots of room to make mistakes here, and there are no mistakes that I can see anywhere on any of the line work. All of this detail that you see, including the bra that she's wearing, all of this bone type looking material, all of that is actually sculpted. It's not just painted on, it's actually sculpted, and it looks really well. Now, there's one separate piece here that I guess you could call it some type of mixed media. It is a rope of some kind, a leather string that has, again, what looks like ceremonial type necklace or some type of ornament that's around here. Looks really, really fantastic all the way around, as you can see. Now, one of the things about this sculpt is, like, she's a character from the 90s, but what I really like about this character is that she's not the typical sculpt from the 90s where all it is about her breast and her butt, if you will, but she's actually sculpted really well throughout and through, where she looks muscular, strong, and healthy. I really like that about this statue. And then one of the things about it is that it is an exclusive piece, and what makes it exclusive is her arm, which comes out. And as you can see, her arm looks like it's translucent or whatever it is. That is because Aspen is able to just completely transform into water. which is crazy. She can dissolve herself into the ocean, like I said, and then reform probably around the world somewhere because she can become the ocean. And it shows where her hand, as she uses her powers, is becoming water-like. And the same thing all the way down to her legs, and it looks really fantastic. Now, I'm assuming this is some type of clear resin, of course, but the way that it looks so great. It looks so good until it actually looks like it's glass instead of some type of resin. It looks like, you know, like I can see how it could be liquid and not just a clear resin. Looks fantastic. All the way down to her base, you can see both her feet are actually also being transformed into liquid or to water or to this translucent type thing. And the base itself is swirling up around her. She's controlling the ocean, and there's water swirling up around her, which just looks really cool. And then this little guy, this little seahorse down here, has gotten caught up in her little whirlwind there of water swirling around her. And even the water itself looks really cool in that it has a lot of detail and a lot of sculpting in the water. What I see here is what I imagine and what I've seen being out on the ocean sometime is when the wind is really high and you've got choppy water and you've got eddies going, and at the top where the water breaks you can see all this foam and these bubbles that form. All of that is actually sculpted into this particular water feature here, which looks fantastic. What I think also would look really cool with this is if there was some type of light up feature, but I can see where there are many opportunities to be able to display it with the right backlighting to give it a really cool look. So overall, Aspen looks fantastic. Now, I did say that there was one aspect of this statue that I was not very happy about. I've seen people put her together, and one of the things that they complained about was this gap between her arms and her body. Now, there really isn't a gap, but when I got it, there was one as well. Now, the reason why there's a gap, and I'm going to be very careful so that I don't on camera end up doing exactly what I did when I was unboxing her. I'm going to pull her arm straight out very carefully because if I don't, something will happen, and I'll show you what that is. I'm going to pull her arm out, straight out, no problem. But what happened is this little piece right here, when she came out of the box, it's molded too far down. And because it's molded too far down, it doesn't allow the arm to go all the way in flush. And so what I did was push the arm in, which was what I should have done, but because it's designed where it comes too far down, it's molded too far down, it just broke this piece off. Now, fortunately, the way that it broke it off, it kind of like, I mean, it's such a clean break. I used some glue to glue it back and it was no problem. But what I was able to do was put the arm in first and then glue it at the angle that it should have been at, so that when I take the arm in and out, it doesn't force that piece up and breaks it off. And I'm able to take the other piece, the other arm that comes with the regular edition here, and put it in here as well. And there's no gap with her arm. It looks really cool. I like this particular exclusive piece. For me, this is one of those EX or fail things because of who she is and what this arm represents she's doing. So I would rather have this as a regular piece for sure if it didn't come with anything else. Otherwise, she looks really amazing, looks fantastic, really happy with it. I thought about sending this back to Sideshow to get another body, but this came with such a perfect paint application and everything. I didn't want to risk that. And then when I fixed this piece, it looks like you can't even see where that happened at. So I'll probably just keep it, or if they allow me to get another piece and destroy one once I get it, I'll see which one's the best one and then do it that way. Other than that, this concludes my review of Aspen, Sideshow's premium format figure from the Top Cow universe, and I hope that I see more figures like this from Sideshow. Great job. Love that you guys took a chance. But what I'd like to do now is, like I've done in the past, and it's been a long time since I've done a premium format figure, I'd like to rate this figure. I'll start with the box, and I have the box behind me over here. I didn't start off reviewing the box because it is pretty simple. This is basically it all the way around. Not a whole lot, but there is something about this box that I do like. And I like the fact that it is really, really compact and that it is really, really small. Because as you know, storing the boxes can be quite a challenge, especially if you're one of those people that like to hold on to your boxes. It can be quite challenging. My garage is getting quite full right now. So thank you, Sideshow, for making a very small box. And I would rate the box an 8 out of 10. There wasn't any extraordinary artwork or anything like that on it. Now, when it comes to the sculpt and the design, I love the sculpt of this figure. I love her body. I love everything about it. It just looks fantastic. I love the design, the water, where her legs are translucent and her arm starts to fade into water. All of that looks fantastic. But because of that one design flaw where I had to end up damaging it or whatever by putting that in and I had to repair it myself, I'm going to give the design and sculpt a 8 out of 10 as well. Now, when it comes to the paint application, 10 all the way. This is a beautifully painted piece. Her skin tone looked really amazing. The makeup that she's wearing looks amazing. All of it looks just fantastic. And the line work, all of that, great, great, great. Now, when it comes to the value of this statue, she's $560. And you know, I do this segment called Collecting on a Budget because I do think that if I'm going to do a channel like this, you know, maybe I should talk about the whole spectrum of collecting, because everybody doesn't have to spend $560 on a really nice piece to have something really cool in their collection. But at $560, I do think it's still a bit much, because if you look behind me, you can probably see in the distance, I have Scarlet Witch, I have Deadpool, X-Force version of X-Men, of a premium formats from Sideshow, and I have also Spider-Woman. All of those statues were anywhere between $250 and $300, I guess, when they first came out, and they're just a few years old. And then we fast forward to another statue on the same scale. A little bit more complex, I get that, but still we've doubled the price in just a few years. And so I'm going to give this statue probably an 8 out of 10 for value, because I still think $560 is a bit much for the statues. Other than that, I love the piece. I'm going to keep it. Love the fact that they're doing statues that are not in the mainstream. So thank you for doing that, Sideshow. Now, if you want to stay on top of the latest and greatest in the world of collecting, please head over to mcecentral.com. That's Marvelous Collectible and Entertainment, where you can see some of the coolest things like unboxing and reviews. Also, we have a YouTube channel, MCE, and let me tell you, there's a lot been going on for the last couple of weeks. If you haven't been over there, please head over and check it out. George has been busy. He has unboxed some really incredible some quarter scale statues, including Devil vs. Amon, Thor Ragnarok, all from Figurama. Awesome, awesome pieces. He's also done some fan art that you might be interested in taking a look at that looks amazing. So head over there and check that out. Seth has been on the road quite a bit with his popping hunts, with what's popping, and bringing some really cool and entertainment pop-offs on Fridays for us. So check that out. I can go on and on. There's so much going on, guys. So don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, my friends, peace.